Hi guys, thanks for joining me. In this video, I'd just like to talk a little bit about on the subject of the players who are playing and training to win rather than just playing training for fun. Just talk about the subject of training what you really need to do to win and thinking about what you should be doing to make that happen. A typical example of what I see other people doing is I'll go down the centre and people will train for an hour or 2 hours, and almost all of their training consists of loop versus block. So forehand loop versus block, backhand loop versus block, and that's the bulk of their session, maybe a few games thrown in. And then when these people come and play me, they serve, I push the ball, and they can't attack it because it's not a top spin ball. It's not easy for them to attack, and I'm chopping the ball really heavy. And what they're good at is top spinning against a block ball, but we never get to that stage. So what I want you to think of is a table tennis rally consists of a sequence of events. A serve, a return of serve, and then that first shot by the server, which is usually someone trying to attack. Most of the time he wants to attack it. The receiver then blocks or does whatever he does, or perhaps attacks it if the server couldn't attack. But it's that sequence of starting a short game and then somebody has to make the first attack, and then we move into a more open play. But without that first attack, we never get to the stage of looping versus block. Somebody actually has to open up the rally. And if you spend all of your time as an attacker training the open part, the looping against a block, and you forget to train the actual starting of the attack, attacking against a push, attacking against a flick, if you forget to train that, you're never going to, in a match, you're never going to get to the stage of doing what you've been training, the looping against somebody's block, or possibly looping against loop. Okay? So really just what I kind of like to say is just think a little bit about what you're actually doing in your training. Are you focusing on the stuff that you need to actually win points? Are you working on your opening attack as an attacker? As a defender like myself, a long-range defender, I need to work on return of serve and pushing the ball and moving back into defensive range. I've got to work on that transition from being up close to being far back so that I don't get caught in the middle. So it's no good for me to spend all of my time simply 3 meters away from the table chopping long range if I never work on the actual sequence that gets me from close to the table back to that point. If I don't do that, I'm going to suffer. I'm never actually going to get back there to do the long range chopping. So I have to work on my return of serve. I have to work on my close pushing. I have to work on when I serve and I can't attack it, my push and my move backwards into defensive stance. So really just, again, just to keep this brief, but to leave you with this thought, think a little bit about your game and how you play, whether you're an attacker, a defender, or whatever. Even if you're a close to the table player, you want to make sure your opponent never attacks you really, really hard. So a good return of serve is important. If you can't work on a good return of serve, you better work on handling really fast loops and attacks coming at you, because that's what you're going to get a lot of. So think about your game. Think about what you really need to do. Attackers, can you serve well? Can you return serve well? Can you actually hit that first attack and open up properly so that you get into the open game that normally everybody likes to train, the looping versus block, the counter looping and all that stuff. Close to the table players, think about, can you, when someone serves at you, can you return tight enough to stop them hitting big attacks at you? If you can't, you better work on it. You either got to work on your return of serve, or you got to work on returning really, really strong attacks. Defenders like myself, long-range defenders, we need a good return of serve and a good serve, but we also need that ability that if we can't attack, we've got to be able to push the ball, flick the ball, whatever, but we also have to transition back into our defensive range. No good just working from the backcourt. So think a little bit about that. If you spend some time working on the pieces of your game that are missing, that are preventing you from getting to the open parts of the game, what you'll find is your results will be better, because you'll actually more often get to the bit that you've been in the past training a lot of, the typical loop versus block. For defenders like myself, the typical loop versus chop when I'm way back. Think about how your points rally transitions. Make sure that you can serve well, return serve well, open up well, so that you can actually get to the bit that everybody normally likes to play. Okay, so that's just really just my thought for the day. And if you've got anything to comment about or any thoughts on it, feel free, just pop a comment on the website. Okay, thanks.